Hi, and welcome all attendees to the 9 a.m. session, Building the One World Schoolhouse. We're joined by Sal Khan, founder of the Khan Academy, Mariah Olson, co-founder of Schoolhouse.world, and Shashir Mehrotra, founder and CEO of Coda. Sal, Mariah, and Shashir, so glad to have you all here, and thank you for joining us.
It's great to
Great,
be.
thanks for having us. Yeah, I think I get to play moderator here today. So I thought maybe we just start off with a quick set of introductions. I can go first. I'm Shashir. I'm the founder of a company called Coda. You'll hear more about Coda in a bit. And before that, I spent a number of years at Google. I used to run the YouTube products. And amongst other things, I'm a MIT alum from the class of 2000. Mariah, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Mariah. I studied UX design and computer science in college, then was working as a data engineer for a while before about 3-4 months ago, I started getting involved in this project and have been helping take the lead in creating Schoolhouse.world.
Yeah. And Sal probably needs no introduction, but you can do a quick one if you like.
Oh, no, yeah. Well, no, it's Sal Khan, founder of Khan Academy, and I'll say more about how the Schoolhouse.world thing started when prompted.
Okay, how about we start there? So we're here to talk about Schoolhouse.world, and let's start maybe by Sal, maybe you can tell us a little about the inspiration, where this came from.
Right. So for those of y'all who know what Khan Academy is, not-for-profit, mission-free, world-class education for anyone, anywhere. And, what Khan Academy is today, obviously millions of kids come, they can learn at their own time and pace. They can get as much practice feedback. They have supports in terms of videos, hints, articles, dashboards for teachers so that teachers know where the students are and they can dig in even more. But there's always been a dream of, the ultimate support is if you could get on-demand help, live help from folks. Obviously, you can get that in a real classroom setting, but if you're just if you're just a random student out in the world, and if it's 10 p.m., how do you get that real help? And about 8 years ago, I published the One World Schoolhouse, wrote the One World Schoolhouse, and the One World Schoolhouse. The first third of the book was kind of like, how did we get to the education system we have? The middle third was a little bit of my journey on Khan Academy. And the last third of One World Schoolhouse was really, what could education look like? And one of the dimensions I wrote about in that is that, wouldn't it be amazing if you could have peers tutoring each other, volunteer teachers tutoring with other kids? And so that idea has always been there. It feels like a big idea, something that could scale for the world. And so it was always there in the back of my mind and other people's minds. And then COVID hit. And when you saw COVID, obviously at the Khan Academy side, we saw our traffic go up by 250, 300% of normal. Registrations were 5-10x. But what we saw is that Khan Academy is useful, but what was going on synchronously over video conference between teachers and students was kind of inconsistent. Some teachers were able to do a really great job, while other places, there were states that did nothing in terms of distance learning. And especially when kids are socially distanced, wouldn't it be amazing if there were a way to connect them with really high quality peers or tutors or teachers who could work with them? And so, then I started looking in my figurative Rolodex of folks that I knew that I thought could help out. And, this was something Khan Academy already has so much to do, the team there. And there's a lot of exciting stuff I'm happy to talk about that we're doing for back to school, like our get ready for grade level courses and our learning plans and all of those types of things. But I started talking to folks. Shashir famously, when he was at YouTube, he was one of the people that convinced me that, making YouTube videos is a legitimate activity. So he gets that credit. So then I talked to him about Coda, and Coda, my limited understanding of it is kind of like these docs on steroids, that you can kind of build docs and spreadsheets, but they're essentially databases that you can build interfaces on top of and build apps on. And so I talked to Shashir. I was like, is there some way that we could build this kind of marketplace on Coda? And he's like, absolutely. Let me talk to some of my team members, and then we got introduced to the Olson family, of which Mariah is a key figure. Mariah, her dad, and her brother immediately volunteered and essentially built a prototype over a little over a weekend, and that's how we kind of got going with Schoolhouse.world.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm it's kind of fun that Sal was a big part of my YouTube story as well, as one of the first creators I work closely with on YouTube, so we get to do it again with Coda. It's kind of fun. Let's switch over and talk about Schoolhouse.world. And Mariah, maybe you can say a little bit about how you got how you got pulled into this and why you agreed to do it in the first place, and maybe even show us a little bit of a demo of what it looks like. Oh, you're muted, Mara.
About that. So yeah,
we're all used to it. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. So on the other coast, I'm working as a data engineer, and I get a call from my brother on a Friday afternoon. So my brother is a product manager at Coda, Jeremy. And he's like, hey, Sal just reached out to my boss, Shashir. He wants to build this doc out on Coda to connect tutors to students. And I was just like, well, if there's anything I can do, I want to get involved. And so I ended up kind of helping build out that initial prototype. And then it's just kind of escalated from there. We built the prototype, and then we demoed it at the Long Beach School District first, and kind of just created something, collaborated with their teachers to figure out how to make it better. And then kind of like had kind of a community just within Long Beach. So we know there would be no safety issues, where we just had Long Beach students and Long Beach teachers on the platform teaching each other as kind of an initial pilot. And then it's just kind of gone on from there. So I can share a little bit about what it looks like and how it works. So this is the student portal. You can basically just go and look for the topic that you need some help with. So we started with just high school math, and you can find the topic that you are struggling with. Say I need some help with trigonometry. I can see what classes are available. Let's see. So I can see Maya Rast, one of our volunteer tutors, created a session on cosine, sine, and tangent. I go ahead and click register, and then I get just an email and a calendar invite allowing me to join the Zoom call. So it's very, very simple from the student side. If there's no session in the topic that they need help with, they can just click request. And what that'll do is it'll help inform tutors about what to create sessions about. And so on the tutor side, when they're scheduling a session, they can see what topics have been most requested. So I can see a lot of people want help with composite functions, and no sessions have been created in it yet. So I'll just go ahead and schedule a session in composite functions and make that available for students. So it's a very, very simple design right now. Students can also find sessions based on different tutors, so they can see the volunteers that have joined the site and kind of see a little bit about how many sessions they've already taught and the feedback that they've gotten and their background, and then follow any tutors that seem really interesting, and see the different classes that those tutors have created, so that they can find the tutors that they really connect with well and take sessions from those tutors.
That's great. Maybe just give us a sense. How's it going so far?
It's been going really well. I think it's been a crazy few months. First piloting this within the Long Beach district, they had a group of some really incredible high school math teachers figuring out, what this could look like. How should a session run? What are the best practices? And then we were able to take our learnings from that, kind of our guidelines for what a good session can look like. And then now we're working on a public version that's just volunteer tutors and students from all over the world. So I think the most interesting thing to see has been how we as educators on Zoom, it's so different from educating in person. And it's been really cool to see tutors kind of sharing their experience about what a good Zoom session can look like. Because, it'd be a shame for every teacher or tutor to have to figure out what a Zoom session should look like on their own, because it's hard, it's different. And and it's hard to engage students well and have a really effective learning experience. So I think the coolest thing for me has been seeing how we can create a space for tutors to talk about what works and what doesn't work, and especially having tutors be able to join each other's sessions. Whenever a new tutor joins Schoolhouse.world, we encourage them to join all the sessions of the best tutors and the most effective tutors, so that we can kind of, you know, share ideas with each other. So, and figure out, you know, what are the things that really work for us to create an effective session.
What are the backgrounds of the typical tutor?
So many different kinds of backgrounds, and I think that's been the cool part about collaborating, is that we have like professional teachers. We have a few tutors who have been doing virtual tutoring for years who just wanted to volunteer their time. We have some high school students who just want to help other students. And we have some people just from different careers. There's some software engineers. There's a chemistry recent graduate. And it's just really cool to see them all bringing their different perspectives into like how we can make this work.
Wow. Maybe I'll come back to Sal to sort of give the broader perspective. I remember when you first launched Khan Academy, you talked a lot about reverse learning and flipping the classroom, and managed to predict a very different model for education. I know it's the early days for One World Schoolhouse, but give us a sense about how do you see things like this working in education at large? Like what should be in person, what should be virtual, even when everybody, you know, can go back, you know, what happens to services like this?
Yeah, well, I think there's two phases. There's this moment we're in with COVID, which, you know,
right.
When I talk to people who know about vaccines, we might be in this for 12 months, 15 months, even longer. So it's going to be a real moment. And, you know, some of the stuff that Mariah has talked about, I mean, it's been fascinating because obviously we started this saying, hey, look, there's a need. A lot of kids need help. It seems like there's a spirit of people wanting to help. We can connect them together. But, you know, I've been able to connect with this volunteer army that Mariah has started to build with us. And, you know, it's been fascinating that they have been really innovating themselves and really taking ownership of the project beyond just being tutors. So, you know, there's committees on, you know, safety, make sure that there's no like, you know, meet me at the 7-Eleven type behavior on our platform. There's ways on tutor development. And this is where these ideas of, hey, why don't we peer tutor? Why don't we get one tutor to observe and other tutors can evaluate? And, you know, these are practices that frankly have existed in some way, shape, or form in the traditional education system, but not as much as they should. And, you know, these are good practices generally for becoming a better educator, a better teacher. And to Mariah's point, this Zoom world of teaching is Brave New World for everyone. The whole global education system right now is struggling with how do you teach over video conference. And in some ways, I think Schoolhouse.world, this, you know, this ragtag group that we're starting to get together has a chance of really pioneering what does initially good look like, and maybe in certain cases, what does great look like. And so I'm hoping that not only does it provide great experiences for the students who come, great experiences for the tutors who show up, that they personally feel like they're getting developed, but also that the rest of the world can look at these sessions and say, oh, that's how I should run a interactive Zoom session, initially in math, but as you know, there's no reason why this platform over time couldn't be extended to pretty much any subject. And then when you go post, you know, I think COVID is an interesting time. We're still at the early stages, but I think we could get a kind of a critical mass of a bit of a marketplace. And then if we are able to over this COVID time period, I think even post-COVID, we know, I mean, the tutoring marketplace, I've heard numbers in the billions of how large that is. But obviously right now it only serves the affluent, people who can afford, you know, $30, $40, $50, $100 an hour. I hope that this is a model, you know, this is intended. We're thinking about how we structure this as a not-for-profit. We do have to come up with some, you know, it could be philanthropically supported. It could be, you know, we're thinking about there's maybe a tip-based model. Maybe there's some small, you know, maybe we can do credentialing for some small amount or something to keep it sustainable. But the intent is for it to be a not-for-profit in a place that, you know, I hope in 5 or 10 years, you have literally millions of people. They can get their learning at their own time and pace on Khan Academy. And then if they need extra help, they want to be part of a cohort, or they want to give back and tutor others and get recognition for their tutoring, they go to schoolhouse.world.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember when I joined YouTube in the pretty early days, and one of the things I used to get asked a lot about was why anybody would bother, and why would you bother being a YouTube creator, and you know, what types of people are actually qualified to do something like that. And one of the things, and I would always tell a story about, well, I've got this friend who is a hedge fund guy who managed to turn this into a whole business. And so I think one really exciting side of the, and obviously now you can make millions of dollars as a YouTube creator. Do you view this as something where people could make a living as a virtual tutor? And you know, this is the kind of the future of teachers.
There's a tension here, but I think we'll be able to thread the needle. There's already kind of for-profit tutoring platforms, places where you can discover tutors or a tutoring service and all of that. You know, what I really hope Schoolhouse, it has the same spirit of Khan Academy, really the same mission, free world-class education for anyone, anywhere. We haven't even written that down yet, but you know, in my head, it's kind of the same mission. So it has got to feel and be and genuinely and authentically be something where the intent is to get as many people learning as possible and really tapping into people's spirit of volunteerism and wanting to do good for the world. And, you know, we all want to do more, but you imagine, you know, now at my lunch break, I can tutor a kid. I think Mariah told me a student showed up from Ghana last week, or, you know, like, how cool is that? I think all of us would love to use our lunch break to tutor a young child in Ghana or whatever else, or across the street. But on the sustainability, and there's obviously with unemployment and distance work and all this, there's another interesting angle there. And I don't know if it's a tip-based model. I don't know if, you know, teachers could market themselves, and then they can, if people really like them, they can get more service from them. Maybe we go into some type of a credentialing model. Maybe the sustainability, obviously I think there's a good philanthropic angle here, but maybe it's, you know, the districts like their own sandbox. Maybe they would want to do kind of an enterprise version of this. So it's still early days of what we're exploring.
Maybe that's a good prompt as well. The district, I'd love to chat a little bit about the role of the school district. And Mariah, you mentioned that the first pilot you did was with the Long Beach School District. Maybe say a little bit about what that pilot was and how it worked, and, you know, any learnings on the sort of worldwide versus district version of Schoolhouse.
Yeah. So after we created the first prototype, we talked to Long Beach School District. I think Sal had some great experiences working with them in the past, and they were able to pull together super quickly a group of math teachers to help us figure out how to make this better and make sure that this is really going to be something that students could benefit from. And then I think about a month after we started the project, we officially started the pilot at Long Beach, where basically I think around 50 Long Beach math teachers created sessions that were available to any student in Long Beach. And these were like some of the top math teachers. And
it's like 70,000 students or something, right?
Right. Yeah. 70 or 80,000 students. And so basically they were making their teachers who are the most comfortable with math and the most experienced teaching online, who had, you know, talked a lot about how to make an effective session together as a group. They were making those teachers available across their whole district through this platform. And I think, I mean, there was definitely a lot of learnings from that and a lot of benefits from that. Just having students from whatever school, whatever math teacher they happen to have, they would have some extra access to get some support from a teacher who really felt comfortable teaching virtually. And I think the first big takeaway from that, I think for us, was the getting students to engage and getting them to kind of get on a Zoom session, especially if they already are on Zoom sessions for school, can be tricky. So, you know, with this whole platform, there's this issue of like supply and demand. You know, we need to make sure we have enough volunteer tutors, and we need to make sure that we have enough students to actually participate in those sessions. So it took a while, I think, for students to kind of warm up to the idea of joining an extra session. They didn't really know what to expect from it. So I think, and then taking that into the worldwide or the public version of schoolhouse.world, we're still trying to figure out how can we, you know, motivate students to seek this help and to get this extra help, since, you know, it is such a weird time in education, and it's hard for students to stay motivated in general, just given everything that's going on. But yeah, I think out of the Long Beach pilot, there is, through all these teachers kind of talking and collaborating, we were able to come up with a set of guidelines for what, like, best practices for a Zoom session, and then we were able to build on that for the public version.
Yeah, that maybe leads a little bit to one thought I had on the you know, just painting a picture on the student side. I mean, my view of what, one of the reasons I'm really excited about this project as a parent, you know, I have a 14 and 11-year-old daughter, and they're pretty active on Khan Academy and so on. But there's the way I look at it is there's this gap that, you know, going on Khan Academy, you do all these great exercises and so on. They love watching the videos from Uncle Sal, but at some point they get stuck and they have to come running to me, or they have to wait for the next day at school. And, you know, one of the things I picture with this is that you get this sort of on demand. There's so many classes that any moment you can actually learn right then and say, okay, I'm stuck here. You know, can someone help me through this? Yeah, I was maybe using that to lead into another question is, what's the relationship, maybe Sal, that you see between what we're doing here and what's happening with Khan Academy, and where, you know, where does that head together over time?
Yeah, you know, so right now, and I've been very clear, just because, you know, Khan Academy, for those who don't know, is, you know, a lot of people associate it with me in a walk-in class. Actually, I'm back in the same walk-in closet where I started, but it's, you know, we're over 200 folks now. It's in 45 languages. There's a lot on our plate, as you can imagine, just with what COVID's going on, where, you know, in the spring, we were serving about 90 million learning minutes a day. We think that's going to be even larger this coming back to school, because, you know, so there's a lot on our plate. So what I've been trying to do is, obviously, you know, 99% of my time is really still in the Khan Academy world, but I want to be able to innovate and work with, you know, both of y'all and our other volunteers to get this thing going, because I think once Schoolhouse kind of has a flywheel behind it, it could in theory one day be just as big or bigger, you know, than Khan Academy. And once again, that's great, because I view them as part of the same mission. And the dream is exactly what you just highlighted, Shashir. You know, I'm working on Unit 3 in Algebra 1 on Khan Academy. Let's say it's on systems of equations. I'm a little stuck on a certain exercise. I watched the video. I'm like, well, that kind of helped, but I have a few questions. You click a button, and it either, you know, maybe one day these things are part of the same platform, but even if they're separate, you know, you go to schoolhouse.world and it says, like, here are all the stuff. Here's all the sessions that are running right now. And if we get critical mass, you know, there could be 10 sessions on that exact topic literally running in the next hour around the world. And you're like, wow, and that's the tutor I really like. Bam, and, you know, you have to wait. Maybe you don't have to wait at all. Maybe you just jump in. You know, most people might not realize it, but I play a lot of Just Dance, and on Just Dance, there's the world dance floor. And at any point, you can join the world dance floor, and there's like people from around the world dancing on Just Dance. I do it with my kids. I know the image of sometimes I do it by myself, if I'm honest, but it's a great exercise. But it's the same notion, but obviously this would be around an academic. There's kind of a world dance floor. But at any time you want to dance mathematically or in other subjects, there's people to dance with.
Yeah. Maybe, I think we're almost at time. Maybe I'll just ask to wrap up. Any calls to action for the audience? Anything you'd like them to do, help the project in as parents, teachers, or volunteers, students?
Well, I'll you know, what Mariah was alluding to, it's the irony. When we were brainstorming this a couple of months ago, we're like, how are we going to get the tutors? How are we going to get the students? Clearly, free tutoring, that's amazing. We're going to have a line out. Interestingly, we've had a lot. I mean, the tutor supply has been great. And they've been high quality and really thoughtful. It's actually been interesting getting the students to realize that, yeah, there's no catch here. This isn't some scam. This is like really good tutoring. You should show up. And obviously we started right at the end of the school year and into the summer. So it's kind of an unusual time. But my announcement, anyone out there, anyone listening, whether you want to be a tutor or whether you have children or you yourself are a student and you want help, go to schoolhouse.world. You can register as a tutor or as a student or both. And Mariah and the team, they're letting people in as the supply to balance out the supply and the demand. So definitely check it out with your children. Mariah.
That's great.
Great.
I think we're right at time.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sal, Mariah, and Shashir. It was so great to hear from you all.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Congrats on an awesome project.
And thank you, audience, for engaging questions. And please remember that you can head over to the Slack to continue conversation. Our next session will begin in 5 minutes at 9:30 a.m. And to join it, please go ahead and click on the link under this video. See you there.